So for today's video, I do want to speak about Xavi Hernandez's 2-3-5 formation and why Celta Vigo were able to punish Barcelona multiple times on the flanks. This is a formation that we have been using over the past few months. It's nothing new. Barcelona have also been using it over the past few years. Again, it's nothing new. The only reason why Barcelona have been unsuccessful with the 2-3-5 formation, it is because we have used the wrong players in almost every position over the years. But now Xavi Hernandez has all the resources in the world to successfully implement the 2-3-5 formation. And to just set the stage here is going to be a video so it can kind of confirm to us that Barcelona are using the 2-3-5 formation with Christensen and Koundé as the only two center backs on the last line of defense, with three midfielders, which is Frenkie de Jong, Oriol Romeo, and Cancelo. This was the main idea going up against Celta Vigo. It's a very aggressive 2-3-5 formation, and to also give you guys more understanding on what the 2-3-5 formation does bring, here are going to be the pros and cons of this formation. The main pro of the 2-3-5 formation is its immense offensive power by sacrificing players that would typically serve as defensive backs. This formation has more than double the amount of forwards of most team structures. As for the cons of the 2-3-5 formation, the main downside to the 2-3-5 formation, it is the lack of defensive presence. There are only two players on the last line of defense, meaning it is extremely important to keep the ball on the attacking half of the pitch, and this is going to be a very important thing that we must remember throughout the rest of this video, right? It is that last sentence, which is making it extremely important to keep the ball on the attacking half of the pitch. So let's just remember that. And let's also explain the context of Xavi Hernandez's game against Celta. Xavi did state this: when we were trailing, we risked everything to play with just two defenders, which meant that in the beginning, Barcelona did play with two defenders, and even though Barcelona were 2-0 down at one point, they still maintained their stance, which is to only play with two total defenders in the back, right? They maintained their idea throughout the game because they knew that eventually they were going to get a result. There was no such thing of Barcelona changing their formation, their players, their whole idea, playing more defensively. None of that. Barcelona came out with the same idea, they stuck to it, and that is why Barcelona were able to come out on top with a 3-2 scoreline. But here is going to be the biggest problem that we did see, and it is having the wrong players being placed in the starting 11. So for example, we saw Marcos Alonso come in for Alejandro Balde. Marcos Alonso did not show the capability to track back as fast as possible when Celta were going on the counter, and even with him joining the attack for that 5-man attacking line, he provided nothing in the final third. So he was a very unuseful player. Xavi was also a player that did not play in the starting 11. He has the capacity to defend like Oriol Romeo, and he also has the technical ability to find those key passes. Oriol Romeo does not really have that. Yes, he has that defensive work rate, but overall he does not have the high football IQ on the ball like Xavi does. And so we missed players like Alejandro Balde, Xavi, maybe even Rafinha or Lamine Yamal. So the wrong players were used during this game. And in order to make the 2-3-5 formation work, when you have the ball and you're going on to attack, you need to have the correct profiles, and you also especially need to have the intensity on the ball and not overcomplicate any things. But there were so many things that went so wrong in the first 45 minutes that even Celta knew that there was weaknesses to take advantage of, and that is what we saw in the first half of the match. So let's look at some examples. Look at this video here. Oriol Romeo receives the ball from one of the defenders in a 2-3-5 formation. He looks very hesitant with the ball. He gets pressured by two players, and then he misplaces a pass after receiving it from Frenkie again, and then now Celta have the ball, and what do they do next? They immediately attack the flanks. And what did I say in the beginning of this video? It is important to maintain the ball in the attacking half. Oriol Romeo loses the ball, we lose the ball in the attacking half, and Celta begin to attack on the flanks because they notice that Barcelona are very narrow on the back side. There is no fullbacks being present ready to defend them, which is why they're able to run so fast on the right flank, and Barcelona had to pay the price. And just to give you guys a better view on just how narrow a 2-3-5 formation is, just look at this picture here. You can see all that space being given on the left side and on the right side. This is almost what you call a inverted pyramid. If we also look at the average position of Barcelona's shape before and after they made their substitutions, you can see that within the starting 11 that they had, they were very narrow compared to the average position on the right side. When we had the substitutions, we looked much more wide and much more, I would say, balanced in the middle of the pitch and on the flanks. And that is the way that Barcelona should have approached the match from the very beginning. And so because Barcelona were losing the ball over and over again, because Celta pressed us so well, it led towards Celta seeing more of the ball, and we lacked a lot of intensity and fast-paced movement with the ball. And we can even see the attacking graph here. Barcelona had very little attacking presence with the ball, which is why the bars are set so low compared to Celta Vigo. Now you can see that all the way in the last 20 minutes, the bars went really high, and that is because Barcelona understood what they had to do and how fast they had to play. Their rhythm and their flow slow, we're getting much faster. But in the first 45 minutes, like that just was not it. So just imagine Celta Vigo seeing all the spaces being left on the back, Alonso being unable to track back, Cancelo being inverted, which is why he was unable to defend the right side of the pitch. And the worst part from all of this, we looked very uninspired, we looked slow, we were shaky, and Celta Vigo were happy to deal with this type of advantage. They wanted to take it and they took it very well, and Barcelona again paid the price for that. Let's move on towards another example. In this second video, they run with the ball and they counterattack us, and they do attack the right flank with one of the players, Bamba, leading the way. He was the one that completed the most dribbles, by the way, in this match with a total of 3 in possession, and we go on the counter with Bamba running through the flanks. That was their game plan, and it was a brilliant game plan because it really was our kryptonite for the 2-3-5 system. It works, right? This formation does work, but if the team does not have the correct players and our intensity is low, we're not going to be able to do anything. No matter if you have 6 to 7 players in the attack, nothing would happen. Now let's move on towards the next clip because it continues to happen over and over again. The options were getting cut by Cancelo in this play, very similar to what happened to Oriol Romeo. I hope you guys are starting to understand the consistency that is going on here. But Cancelo's trying to dribble his way out. He loses the ball immediately. Celta Vigo gain the ball and they attack. And as we can see through this play, Xavi and Koundé have some sort of like miscommunication on who is going to be defending who, and that is why Celta were able to get out of that tight space immediately. But at this point, Celta were on. Xavi still needed time to get into the rhythm of the match. And so one of the reasons why Cancelo is being seen to continue to dribble with the ball inside, it is because Frankie de Jong was not there and he had to take care of Frankie de Jong's role. This kind of goes back to what I said. We need the correct players in every position. But in this case, because Frankie had to leave on the 35th minute, Cancelo had to take his role and dribble through the middle of the pitch. But we all know that Frankie, with him on the ball, he is just on 2 different levels over Cancelo. Frankie is just untouchable. He is the one that's able to take out 2 or 3 players within a span of 1 to 2 seconds with the one dribble. Cancelo, on the other hand, he's decent at it, but he's not as consistent. He will lose the ball eventually if he's being asked to dribble over and over again through the middle of the pitch. And it's very important under Xavi Hernandez's system to have a player that is very press resistant with the ball and is able to take down 2 or 3 players. It's one of the basic principles, not lose the ball in the attacking half and have the best dribbler on the ball in the middle of the pitch. And in this case, it's Frankie de Jong, but he was not there. So Cancelo had to be seen as the next one. This is also one of the reasons why Man City signed Kovacic, because Pep Guardiola was a huge fan of the fact that Kovacic can be a great ball carrier. Just look at this example here. Very similar to how Cancelo attempted that play against Celta Vigo. Pep Guardiola even said and stated multiple times, the future of football, it is for midfielders to be great ball carriers because they allow you to eliminate multiple players off of one play and you go on to attack. It's the only way you can function off of a 3-2-5 or a 2-3-5 formation. And so look, I have nothing but respect for what Celta did against Barcelona. They came here to play and they came here with a clear game plan, and I'm always going to respect that as long as we don't have a team that just sits back and defends and wants to play dirty. Like for example, Getafe. Celta, on the other hand, they came in with a great game plan. They studied Barcelona well. They knew the weaknesses of the 2-3-5 formation. They saw the type of players Barcelona implemented in the starting 11, and they took advantage of that with Bamba, Aspas, Larsen leading the way. But then in the end, Barcelona triumphed, scoring 3 goals and making it 3-2 because of the individual brilliance of multiple players like Cancelo, Xavi, Lewandowski, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, Joao Felix, and many more. The individual quality of these players allowed for the difference to happen. Now, I have no problem with depending on 1v1 situations when we have to have Araujo defend one player and Araujo takes the ball away from him over and over again. I have no problem with Joao Felix going on 1v1 attacking plays because Joao Felix is able to handle it. I have no problems with these individual displays and getting pulled through on a win because of these individual talents. The big problem that I do have though is that you cannot always rely on the individual brilliance of each of these players. We can't depend on this 110% and in every minute of every match. We just cannot do that. This cannot be a makeup for our drop of intensity or our drop in aggression. And we definitely cannot afford to move the ball slowly only because we think that our individual brilliant players can bring us a great scoreline. We cannot do that. We need to have the basic principles instilled in this team because the individual players, they can only take you so far. And Xavi Hernandez was stressing this. We talked about this in the previous video. We need aggression, intensity, fast circulation with the ball. We need to be able to defend well, defend as a unit, play very simple football, and nothing more. If we can do that, we will be okay. We would be taking care of 80% of the total problems. And so that is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.